Hey there, my name is Chris Blattie, and I'm going to be cutting down a windshield for a chopped 61 Chevy Suburban. A customer from Mississippi sent me a pattern, and I laid it out, traced it out, and he's got me taking it off the bottom, which is a little bit weird. Usually when they chop them, I wind up taking the glass off the top. But it's going to be on the real curved part of the windshield right here, and this is the part where it gets real hairy. And I know that since it's so curved that there's a lot of stress already in the glass. And I've done them before where I start my cut down here and go this way, and I've actually had them start cracking right behind me because it wants to relieve that stress that the glass is in from being bent. So this time I'm going to cut it from the middle out both sides. I'll score it that way. And I'm thinking that it's going to come around here and still hold together, and as soon as I hit that end of that glass with my score, I would bet it starts opening up. So the idea is to control that, to control the way that the glass breaks, and kind of get a little bit of a feel for it. And having done a few of them, you kind of know. Believe me, I broke a couple of them, so I kind of know, learn the hard way what not to do sometimes. So that being said, this is what I'm gonna do. Start on this one and go that way, and then I'm gonna come around and do that side. So I'm using an oil-filled cutter. Got this from C.R. Lawrence, and it's just a little diamond wheel, and when you depress the head on it, it has a little wick in there that wicks the oil onto the cutting wheel to keep the score cool. And the big deal is amount of pressure you put on there when you're scoring it. It has to be even. You can't have any skips in it anywhere. It has to be totally solid score. As soon as you skip a spot, that's where it'll want to crack off the side. So the idea is to keep your score just nice and neat. You don't want to push too hard, but you want to push hard enough that your score gets down into the glass. But if you don't push hard enough, it won't get down all the way in there, and then you have a hard time breaking it. If you score it too hard, then it has the tendency to running off because it's called a hot score. So now I'm just cutting on the inside of the line, and you listen for the sound as much as anything. Coming around these corners gets to be a little tricky to keep your pressure consistent. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm moving my whole body and I'm keeping my arms pretty well locked in a spot. And that helps me keep it able to cut on the line. Now I got to come back to my score here. Now I got to take my pliers, and we need to break that. It's only scored, it hasn't started cracking yet. I was wrong, it didn't really start running, but as soon as I touch these to it, it'll start jumping out there. And the idea, I'm thinking on this one, I'd like to start down here and work a little bit this way, then start here and work a little bit this way, and get it all to where it'll come out here on these corners. And each one is kind of a little bit different, but it's the same principles, you know. And as I do this, my pliers have a little knock in them right there, and I hit right under the score and tap it up, and I don't know if you can see that, but it starts jumping out in front of that. And the idea is you don't want to, I'm only cracked to right here. I don't want to come over here and start doing it. I want to keep that crack flowing that way. So I tap in behind it and watching it really careful. I'm not whacking it too hard, but my thumb on the edge here is just kind of keeping it from bouncing too much, taking away some of that recoil. Now I'm going to come down here in the same kind of a thing. See, it's wanting to jump up right here. I can see it. So I'm going to stop for a second. And I'm going to run this one back in and see if I can't bring it in and tag it into that one. It's hard to see with that black line on there. Now it's cracked all the way from there, all the way up here and all. Hopefully you can see that. So now I'm going to keep cracking it this way. Actually, this will probably help. You see where it starts to that's breaking super nice. It's a nice clean break. So now that's one side of the glass, and I will also add that it is, for some reason, brand new glass cuts a lot easier and a lot nicer than old glass. So we're pretty much halfway done there. Just making sure there isn't any chunks of something on that score or I'm going to be scoring. So I'm doing the same thing. Start in the middle, run it up that side, then run it up that side. And these you got to go exactly over the top of the other brake. So the closer you get them lines lined up, the easier it will be when you go to cut it off. And I'll explain that in a little bit. Got a little rough right there going over them numbers. Hopefully we're all right. Picking up right where I started. Even just can't leave any skip there. I drag the wheel across that until I find where it locks into my old score, and that's where I start. Now, I'm going to do the same thing we did on the other side, just for the back side. And usually these break a lot quicker and a lot cleaner because there's already a little bit of flex in the glass because it's already cracked on one side. So. See how it just already jumped out way out in front of me? Can probably do a lot of this just with my hands. A little nervous about this spot right here. No, we're good. So that's all connected there. And I'm just pulling it with my hand here and it's running out very nicely. Now it looks like it's all broke solid and right on my score, but before I put any of the alcohol on it to start warming it up, I have to make sure that it is broke completely through on both pieces. So I just kind of go along like this and flex it with my hands and just make sure that the glass is broke all the way through the piece of glass, because the glass is about 1/8 inch thick, not quite 1/8 of an inch, and you can, if it's not cracked all the way from the side to side on it, when you put heat to it, it might run. So, and I know that the hard way. So right now, and I can hear it, feel it moving, and I can hear it popping, but it's completely broke on that line now. So now we take, this is denatured alcohol, and it burns at the right temperature. It works good for softening this up enough to the laminate. Basically what you want to do is warm it up enough that the lamination gets soft and you can start prying it away, the piece off of the main windshield, without cracking it a lot on the edges. And it's real hard to get the alcohol to be up in here and stuff. It wants to pool down right here, so pretty much I just keep adding alcohol to it and getting it going. So you can hear it popping sometimes, and that's, I don't know if you can hear it creaking or not, but you start putting heat to it and it pulls it and bends it. Probably can't even hardly see the flame, but there's a little blue flame there. And then I pretty much grab a brand new razor blade, because you want it to be good and sharp, and the glass will be hot, but not like hot enough to hurt you. But you can see when I flex it, it opens up that crack right there enough for me to get this razor blade into, and that's when you start cutting that lamination. And I start on the outside corners just because of the nature of it, the curve of it. If you start out here, it'll allow you to bend this easier. Couldn't probably even get a blade in right here. But, and like I said earlier, the better you are at scoring them right above each other, the easier this process is. See, there's getting to be a little bit of flex in there now, and it's getting a lot easier to put that razor blade in there. So one side done. One other thing I'll add, I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't cut the rounded, because these corners I'll have to match, you know, with the rounded part of there. If I could do it now, once I get this off, I could score it and break it, but honestly, for how much I have to do, it's pretty easy for me to do that on the sander instead. So right now I'm just getting the big chunk off. A little more alcohol. Sometimes the alcohol will kind of help eat that lamination up a little too. You don't even have to light it, just kind of let it sit there and soak into it. Never been accused of having a lot of patience, but you gotta kind of be patient with this stuff. You get in a hurry, next thing you know, you're throwing the whole thing in the dumpster. And there you have it. Not even a crack. So, to finish this off, like I said before, I wind up taking it over on the wet sander, and you horse it up in the air and you round these corners off and you put a nice edge onto the bottom of here, and then box it up and send it to Mississippi. Thank you very much for watching. Again, I'm Chris Blattie, Montana Glass and Shower Door in Billings, Montana. Cutting curved windshields down. I'm just hoping to be able to teach some of you other folks how to do it, so I'm not having to send windshields to Mississippi. So have a good day. Thanks for watching.